Yeah, when I said at the end of the last session that I'd be back to speak to you all, I was saying it literally. So, my speech today, I will be talking about the thought process of a 17-year-old figuring out what to talk about. So, first things first, I would like everybody to think back to 3 weeks ago, the end of October. What were you doing 3 weeks ago? Now, I'd noticed that Mike Jatan, who you'll hear speaking in a short while, posted a blog entry on how he had put a content lock on his speech. I'd noticed that there were YouTube videos posted of all the student speakers speaking today. Their speeches were near memorized, prepared, etc., etc. 3 weeks ago, I decided to speak. Now, I know this may seem like a bit of a rash decision, but that's just the kind of challenge that I like to give myself. Even though, going into this, I didn't really have any idea what I would be talking about. So, when I was thinking of what to talk about, I began with today's theme: passion, purpose, and perspective. Now, being a 17-year-old who has little to no idea what he wants to do after grade 12, purpose and perspective were kind of out of the picture. So, by a bit of process of elimination, that left me with passion. But then I realized something. There was no S beside passion. And then I panicked, because I have so many passions in my life, it's hard to pick just one, but I calmed myself down and decided, okay, I'll do a little bit of brainstorming, see if I can pick one. But then I panicked again, because my brainstorming looked a bit like this. Yeah, a bit messy. But once again, I calmed myself down and decided, here's what I'll do. I'll go through my life chronologically and see what passions I've had, because even since I was very, very young, I always remember being passionate about my interests. So one of the first things I remember being passionate about was music. And even before music, I was passionate about musicals. I was that 3-year-old child who you'd hear singing along to the soundtrack of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, going, ah, during Any Dream Will Do. I was that 3-year-old child who you would hear singing, Do You Hear the People Sing, along with the cast of Les Miserables. I was that 3-year-old child who you would hear singing along with Cell Block Tango from Chicago, which, while that might have been cute, might have been just a little inappropriate for a 3-year-old. To prove my point, here's a short excerpt. You know, some guys just can't hold their arsenic. Or another one. And then he ran into my knife. He ran into my knife 10 times. What can I say? I was a weird kid. But what came from musicals was music in general. At the age of 4, I started playing the piano. At the age of 10, I started playing the guitar. At the age of 12, I started playing the trumpet. And at the age of about 15, I decided to put away the trumpet and learn the tenor saxophone. My biggest regret in my life was that I wasn't able to play these all at once, but I still try to give them all an equal opportunity, playing them all as often as I can. So that was music. But then I realized that at the age of 6, I found a love for drama. I would star, or be, in a lot of plays that would be at my school or camp. When I was younger, I had roles such as Rafiki from The Lion King, Gaston in Beauty and the Beast. A bit more recently, a few years ago, I was Buddy in High School Musical. Or sorry, Buddy in City of Angels. And a few years before, I played Troy in High School Musical. I kind of wanted to forget about that, which is why I didn't try and find any pictures, but it happened. And even when I stopped finding the opportunities to be in as many plays, I took improv classes, and now I'm actually an assistant drama teacher at the Theatre for Young People in Toronto. So at this point, continuing with this whole chronology thing, I was about 10, and I had 2 big passions in my life. I had music, and I had drama. But then there was yet another, film. At the age of 10, I started having a huge love for film. I would spend hours a day on IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, learning what actors were in what movies, what other movies those actors were in, learning famous lines, seeing how obscure a movie I could figure out would be so I could either impress or annoy all my friends by my knowledge. But when I turned about 13, that love turned into a passion. All of a sudden, I began watching as many movies as I can, not just recent, but also movies from a long time ago, learning about lots of famous directors from the past, including Alfred Hitchcock, Stanley Kubrick, Woody Allen, Akira Kurosawa, Charlie Chaplin, Jean-Luc Godard, Ingmar Bergman. I could go on for a while, but I won't. The fact is, film has been a large part of my life. In fact, my current collection is almost as tall as I am. So, at this point, I thought of three big passions: music, drama, and film. And I thought to myself, wait, I can just lump them all into the arts and talk about that. But then I realized where I would be speaking. In a school. And the fact is, another big passion of mine is education. For example, I and a lot of my friends do refer to me as a math geek. I know, very mathematic, isn't it? But then, even going beyond curricular, there are a lot of things that I love to do extracurricular. For example, debating and public speaking. I love speaking to people, I love arguing, and while a lot of people may tell me that it's just because I love hearing the sound of my own voice, that is absolutely not true. So, at this point, I've just about brainstormed all of my possible passions, and I thought to myself, well, which am I going to talk about? And I was really not sure. But let me go on a short tangent. One movie that I quite enjoy is Adaptation. Adaptation was written by Charlie Kaufman and stars Nicolas Cage as one Charlie Kaufman, a screenwriter trying to adapt that novel, which happened to be the same novel that the actual Charlie Kaufman was adapting while writing this movie. If you're confused, that's okay, because I was too when I watched this. But the point was, Charlie Kaufman was able to write a movie about him writing a movie, so I could make a speech about me trying to find out how to make a speech. So, I've talked for about 6.5 minutes now about how I didn't quite know what passion to pick, and as a result, I decided to talk about all of them. But what's my point? I mean, I've spent a lot of time being extremely self-referential and talking to you about myself, but what am I really trying to get at? Why am I here speaking to you today? And what I realized when I was thinking about what to talk about is that I didn't need to just pick one passion, because all my passions make me who I am. They have enhanced who I am. And that's the same for all of you. Once again, using a cheesy math equation, passion A plus passion B plus passion C, etc., equals you. Because the fact is, it's not just one passion that makes you who you are. It's all your passions that go into making you who you are. Now, I once read that a person without passion is like a fire without light. And that's because passion is the driving force that pushes us forward in our daily lives. It's what makes us who we are. And also, it's what makes us different from each other, so we don't just have a world of mindless clones who don't have any purpose in life. And I just included purpose. You see, without passion, we all risk being dull and indifferent, which frankly is just boring. Passion is what makes life interesting. It's what makes life enjoyable. Now, one major point that passion has in our lives is not just to shape us into who we are, but to lead us into some different roads. And it's perfectly okay if these roads are going in completely different directions. You can love film. You can be a math geek. You can be able to solve a Rubik's Cube in under 2 minutes, and you can like to read Sondheim scores on the piano in your free time. But the fact is, the whole ends up greater than the sum of its parts. So if there's one thing that I want you to take away from this talk today, it's this. Once you find a passion, explore it. But don't limit yourself, because it's all of our passions, all of them combined, that makes us who we are. And who knows? You can even find something that you would never have thought to enjoy, and it could end up being one of your greatest loves throughout your entire life. I mean, when I was 3 years old, singing along to Cell Block Tango, I didn't see myself loving speaking to large audiences of people that I didn't know. But look at me now. I mean, it sounds cliche, but if it worked for me, it can work for you. Thank you.